Right, take three. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Season 2 of Learning Netrunner with Team Squared, and no longer System Gateway, now with System Update 21. I'm Mark, aka MCG, and I've run out of things to say in the third version of the introduction. So who are these people, and what can they remember to say?
My name's Dave, and I'm going first this time. Ha! How do you like them apples, Sharon?
That was my intro.
Oh, are you ready to be here?
I'm ready to be here.
I'm ready to be here.
If there was any way of you finding it out, the intros we did earlier were fantastic, but we've lost some now. You just have to bear with the one we got actually made it into the cut. Oh well. So we've been away for a couple of weeks. We did the episode 6 at the end of System Gateway, and then we needed to spend some time chopping up the various bits of that stream into something closing a coherent video, which took us a little bit of time, and then we had some other real life stuff to do. Anything exciting to report?
I went away to live on a mountain for 2 weeks, training how to shuffle correctly, and I've come back a master. So yeah, I'm ready.
Skills that will prove invaluable for tonight.
Invaluable. Because Jinteki's shuffling algorithm hates me.
I have something quite exciting. I received my pack of my starter pack just in time for us to move on to a different set of cards. So when I was having a chat with Mark and I said, "Oh look, Mark, I can get a head start and look at all the cards we might soon be learning about," he laughed. He laughed in my face.
Oh no.
I haven't even bothered to open them. No one to play with, no one to talk to about the cards. Sad.
Wow.
So sad.
Wow. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. On that note, we'll end the stream.
The saddest stream.
No. So, tonight we are moving on. We're a little bit out of practice, as you may have noticed, and we don't have the visual aids that we once did. But if you can recall back to how the different formats of Netrunner were made up, we are now moving on from System Gateway, which is for starters. Oh dear.
Oh, everything's all over the place. Quick, carry on, as if everything was fine whilst I fix these bits.
Okay, so we're moving on from System Gateway, which is 75 cards, and we're now moving up into Startup. Startup includes System Gateway, System Update 2021, and the Ashes cycle, which all told is about 230 cards. So where it was a bit of a mission in learning the 75 new cards from Gateway, it would be an even bigger mission to go through every single card that's now legal. So don't intend to go through every single card, and certainly not before we start any gameplay. What we're going to do now is take a leaf from the video game world, where the first level in a game now often gives you powers that you don't know how to use yet, so that you can see how exciting the game will be in the future when you've leveled up to the appropriate place. So what we've done is what I've done is put together some decks featuring some new cards that I think will be fun to play with, and we'll talk about what the new cards in those decks are, so we understand what they do, and then we'll get onto the boards and let you two find out how they play against each other.
Excellent. I've placed them on my Jinteki account already, and I'm good to go. Which way round are we doing this?
Splendid. Well, there's no there's no specific answer to this. I think usually Sharon ends up being the runner and you end up being the corp, but we can either stick with that or we can turn it on its head. That's up to you two.
I am the best corp player and the best runner, so.
Okay.
And that's actually a falsehood. That's such a falsehood as well. I'm the worst overall player in every way, and I love it. Okay. But I'm good to go
well,
for.
Well, seeing as you've got the corp on the screen now, let's just go through the new cards that we've introduced with the corp deck.
Excellent.
So, we'll start off with a couple of agendas, and the first of which is Cyberdex Sandbox. Cyberdex Sandbox is a agenda kind of similar to Off-World Office in that it has an economic reward for scoring it. So what it says is, the first time each turn you purge virus counters, gain 4 credits. And when you score this agenda, you may purge virus counters. So, you score this agenda, which would have cost you 4 credits to advance it 4 times, but then that initiates a purge. A purge gains you 4 credits, you get those 4 credits back instantly.
Holy crap. Wait,
But then...
And that sits there in your agenda area and gives you that benefit for purging every time you purge?
It certainly does.
And you could score 3 of those, right?
Yes,
You'd
I think
be
you're
a very rich
here.
man if I don't steal them first, Dave.
Yeah,
you can.
Sure.
You can. It rewards you then for every time you want to purge. You will also get those 4 credits. So where they've run up a lot of conduit vouchers or a lot of leech tokens, and they are, and you think, oh, I'm going to have to purge them now, but that's a bad move because I'm going to lose all my clicks and get no reward for it. Well, you do get a reward for it. You get 4 credits, which is more than you would have got if you just click for 3 credits.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
The other part of it that you've also clicked onto is that this stacks. So if you're able to score a second one, every time you purge, then you get 8 credits. And if you're able to score a third, every time you purge, you get 12 credits.
So, quick rules clarity. It says each time you purge virus counters. Does that mean successfully purge virus counters, or you attempt to purge virus counters and even if there are no virus counters, you still get this effect? Or does it rely on there being virus counters to purge?
It's an excellent question. In the past, the rules said that you couldn't do an activity unless it was going to change the game state. So if there was no virus counters on the board, you can't purge because nothing will happen. But with the release of this card, they decided that didn't apply anymore. So you can now purge willy and indeed nilly with no virus counters on the board just to take the economic benefit.
Sure. I mean, with this card down, it does change the game state. Like, it changes your monetary purse to like an inordinate amount, but it seems strange to stop you from doing things just because you want to, even if they're the wrong thing to do. Like, that seems very hand slappy. No, you play the game properly, or you don't play at all, which bodes ill for my deck making.
There were some old weird interactions that were saying things like you can't trash a card. There are some cards that reward you for trashing cards, and
Uh-huh.
therefore you couldn't just trash a card when you felt like it just to get that reward. You had to be trashing that card for a reason, and that's kind of the thought process behind it. But it was all very messy,
Yeah.
and it's been clarified now to an extent that you can purge whenever you want, and you'll get those cards.
Yeah, it seems like stopping you from just gaining a small effect by paying a big cost, despite that not being the intended use, is well, that kind of prevents people from being creative, right? Like it's a nix on creativity. Whereas I think this changing it so you can do it even if you're a damn fool for doing it seems like a much sort of more positive direction. Yeah, I like that.
Um, can it, I'm going to say we can slide Sharon into full view rather than half mode.
Oh, that's what I was
Um,
just working on. There we go.
the next card we're going to look at is Vulnerability Audit.
Here we go.
Now,
Oh,
this is a 4-3 agenda, which is not something we've seen before. Normally, obviously, you have a 4-2 or a 5-3. This
yeah,
is a 4-3, and as a result, it carries an influence point despite it being neutral because it's quite a strong card, and therefore you've got to pay a price for it.
yeah.
The the restriction on it is you cannot score this agenda if you installed it this turn,
Okay.
but with the way this deck is designed to work, using cards like Seamless Launch that you're familiar with, you don't want to score it on the turn it's installed anyway. So that kind of covers that any drawback you might get from there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Sure.
And so that will help you go from, in an ideal world of scoring 7 points rather than 8,
Yeah.
you'll score a combination of cyberdexes and off-world offices to keep your money up, and then you'll try and score a vulnerability audit to win.
Sure. Okay. To finish off your points total. Um.
Yeah.
Interestingly, you end up paying for this twice then, right? Because you pay once at deck building, with the influence cost, but then you also pay with the fact that the vulnerability audit has to be vulnerable for a turn, right? Like it has to be on the board and out there for the runner to be able to have a go at. Your ice notwithstanding, like it has to be on the board for them to be able to go at least once. Um,
Yeah, that's the idea.
cool. It seems like it'd be strong with a lot of uh, other cards like the punishment cards, the traps, that sort of thing. It seems like defending it in other ways would be pretty sensible. Which I don't think this
Oh,
one's got.
sure. Well,
Oh, sorry.
well,
Wow.
well. We may as well go straight onto that card then.
Snare,
One,
such a good word.
one of the quintessential Netrunner cards has been around since the dawn of time and continues to be a fan favourite now. And Snare is an ambush.
Oh,
So you've played with Urtica Cipher before,
yeah.
and you've played with Clearinghouse in terms of damage that can be either thrown across the table or hits you when you encounter it. This card is closer to Urtica Cipher in terms of it has to be accessed to do some damage, except this doesn't have to be installed. It doesn't have to be advanced. This does damage whenever the runner accesses it, assuming the corp can pay for it.
Anywhere except archives.
So this
Wow.
can float around in your R&D, this can float around in your HQ, and when the runner is accessing this card, they must reveal it. If the corp pays 4 credits, then the runner receives a tag and 3 net damage.
But it's free to trash from that point, so it's like a one-shot damage.
It is. But say if you had like 3 spin doctors in your deck, you could then shuffle some snares back into your R&D and HQ ready to do more damage in the future.
I'm liking this. I'm liking it.
Sure. Seems pretty good fun.
So what you've got to think of now is that in what we've played so far, the only threat has been accessing an advanced card in a remote server.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've got a threat that could be lurking in HQ, could be lurking in R&D. You've got to be aware of its existence at all times.
Yep.
And
Sure.
also has the classic oversight of someone making a run on last click, them hitting this, and even if it doesn't kill them, it also lands them with a tag, so they start losing their possessions on their next turn as well.
Grim.
And then the last new card in this deck is an upgrade that sits nicely next to your Anoetic Voids, and this is Costa Grid.
Hey, look at that artwork.
Is this our first region?
It may well be.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Cool.
If I was paying attention, I'd be able to answer that. But this is an upgrade, and it is a region, and it is seedy for the one card in the history of Netrunner that cared about that.
Sure.
You can only place it in a remote server, so don't go installing it on HQ and R&D.
Yeah.
And it says, when your turn begins, place an advancement token on a card in this server.
Oh,
so if, for example, you'd had a vulnerability audit in with this Costa Grid,
sure,
you now can you get 1 free advancement, advance it 3 times, and you've scored it.
So you score it the next turn, basically, without too much problem. You can install it on your last click, and next turn it's getting scored safely.
Yep. That's so all 8 of the agendas in this deck, if you have a Costa Grid in the server with it, then you can score it next turn. You don't have to install, advance, and wait. You can just install and then use the Costa Grid, advance 3 times, score the agenda.
Nice.
I'm really sorry that I haven't paid attention to the... Well, I think I have, but I don't know if I zoned out. Do you have to pay for that advancement token?
No.
Nope.
It's free.
Excellent.
It's triggered.
Yep. You have to pay for the Costa Grid when you res it, which is something that's easy to forget. It costs 3 credits to res the Costa Grid. But
so if you had this in Clearinghouse, it's only a matter of time.
True story. Yes,
yeah.
Anything in that server will just keep ticking up.
Sure.
How many of these can you have in your deck?
3.
You can have 3. You can only have 1 of them per server. So it doesn't stack. It's because of that specific rule of limit 1 region per server. Now, as we get into the game and we discover other regions, that's something you've got to remember. You cannot stack regions on top of each other because that would create some busted effects.
Can you swap in and out like you can with other things, where you're like, right, you know what, I want a new region for this server, so I'll bang out the old one and put in a new one?
You can.
Okay.
But only one at once.
So it kind of telegraphs what sort of upgrade you're installing to a server if you have to get rid of the region to upgrade, whereas you could put a region and Anoetic Void on the same server, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely you could. Well, what this means is basically with this deck, is if there is a resed Costa Grid in it, every time you install another card in that server, it could be an agenda you can score next turn.
Yeah.
But if you want to check it, it could turn out to be a Spin Doctor, and you've wasted your time. It could be an Anoetic Void that keeps you out, or it could be a Snare which hits you in the face. So you've got to work out there, not just can you get in that server, but is going into that server the right thing to do?
And it's always going to be an anxious game for the runner, isn't it? Because you could get Thrash going for the R&D, you can get Thrash going for the server, you can get Thrash going for HQ.
Yeah. Go and check
I'll
on an
take the
advanced
first.
card and it's a Snare.
You can't advance a Snare, so don't do that.
Ah, okay. So you can't put an advancement token on it despite the fact that it can't be advanced. It absolutely cannot have an advanced...
You can place an advancement token with Costa Grid,
Yes.
because placing an advancement token and advancing a card is not the same thing.
Okay, cool.
But you can only advance cards if they are agendas or
Yep.
they say they can be advanced.
Sure. Cool.
Okay, so you've got 4 new toys to play with on the corp side. Let's have a look at the runner deck, which is fan favourite Zaya Sedegi.
Excellent.
So there are only three new cards here. All the others you should be familiar with. But I think this deck is fairly strong just with the 3 new toys. So the first one we're going to look at is Career Fair.
Gotcha.
And this is a fairly common staple of the game now, and has a very simple effect. When you play Career Fair, you can install a resource from your grip, and you pay 3 less to do so. So, if you look at Red Team, for example, that we've seen before, that costs you 5, which is pretty steep, can wipe out your economy early doors, and then you have to make a couple of runs usually to get the value from that back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you manage to install that with a Career Fair, it only costs you 2, and therefore, as soon as you've made 1 successful run, you've made your money back.
But the thing that you're giving up here is, despite it saying install 1 resource from your grip, if you want to maintain the same level of cards in hand, you're going to be using the same number of clicks overall, right? Which means that in actual fact, this kind of just winnows your deck down by 1 for 3 credits overall, right?
Yes, that's one way of looking at it. But
Yeah.
what Dave's saying is, if you're going to use this to install a card or another card, 2 cards go out of your hand, and you're scared of running into Snare, you're going to have to spend the next 2 clicks drawing replacement cards.
For sure.
And ergo, you've not gained 3 credits of value. You've only gained 1 credit of value. But it depends at where you are in the game on whether you definitely need to draw those extra cards or whether you're going to gain extra cards anyway. Because one of the cards you might choose to install with Career Fair is Earthrise Hotel.
Interesting name.
An Earthrise Hotel is a hotel up in space.
Oh, sure.
It's a ritzy location, and it says when you install this resource, put 3 power counters onto it, and when it is empty, you must trash it. When your turn begins, take one of the hosted power counters off and draw 2 cards.
Ah.
Cool.
So that's a power counter, which seems to be something new.
Power counters in practical terms is just the other side of a virus counter. But
Why are you ruining the mystique, Mark?
in Jinteki terms, yes, it's a different type of counter, and basically it just means it's a counter that's resistant to purging.
Yeah.
That's its mechanical role in the game. So when you manage to install an Earthrise Hotel, you get 6 cards worth of draw for no more clicks.
Yep.
Now, that is balanced with having to pay 4 credits for it usually, but if you can install it off a career fair for 1 credit, it's good value.
That is good value. These seem to be like deck narrowers, like cards that enable you to build a deck that is less than 40 cards without impacting that at all, so that you can get to the good stuff a bit quicker, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's about any deck that minimizes the number of clicks you need to do stuff is a very good thing.
Yeah.
So you install an Earthrise Hotel for 1 click, it delivers you 6 clicks.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
Pretty good.
only the
very
cost
nice.
element of that is the balancing.
Yep.
And then the other one, where Earthrise gives you clickless card draw, its partner in crime is daily casts, which gives you clickless money.
Oh.
Nice.
When you install this resource, load 8 credits onto it. When it is empty, you must trash it. But when your turn begins, take 2 from this resource.
Cool.
So you're getting 5 credits profit for the single click that you play with it. So it's, So it's akin to a government subsidy or a Hansei review on the corp side, and it's better value than hedge fund on the runner side. But for the trade-off that you have to wait for it. However, if you can install daily casts with a career fair,
Yep.
now it's free to install. You're gaining 8 credits of value off 1 click.
Sure.
And as well as that,
and thinning your deck at the same time.
and for sure, and as well as that benefit of it just being good value, what it means is if you can find if your cards come out in the right order, if these cards come out early in the game, you can install them. You can be getting their benefits whilst you are doing other things.
Yeah.
And in
Wow.
terms of helping you get set up, these are great enablers.
Fire and forget seems like a cracking way of making sure that you get maximum use out of your limited number of clicks.
Now, Mark, could you remind us which cards in this deck give you a larger hand size? Grip size?
E400 is the only one, I think.
T400.
Yeah.
And there's no limit to how many of those you can install. But it
Well,
takes.
you're limited to 3 in your deck, and
Oh right, sorry, yeah.
but you can install all 3 of them. They are not unique, which would put your hand size up to 8.
So Earthrise does put you on a bit of pace. You can't just durdle with it, I guess, right?
Well, if you're going to start, if you end your turn on 5 cards in hand, you're going to start your next turn with 7 cards in hand.
Sure.
You don't want to waste cards. You want to be installing cards, or you want to be playing cards. So yeah, from that perspective, you don't want to play Earthrise Hotel when you're on 0 credits. Because you might draw cards that you need to install and you can't afford to do anything with them.
Yeah, of course.
But the conventional wisdom, as I've been trying to get across for a number of weeks now, is never have 0 credits in hand. Don't just go running willy-nilly, overclocking
Where's
to
the
death.
joy in that?
Money's
Mark?
meant to be spent.
Sure,
Eat
sure,
the
sure,
rich.
sure. Okay. So those are the 7 new toys you've got to play with for now.
Cool.
choose your weapons and meet on the battlefield.
Okie dokie doke.
I am ready. And Dave, I don't know if you've noticed a new feature in Jinteki,
The any side.
which is any side. Yeah, it's you can just pick any side.
You just go, I'll play whatever, thanks, and then let the other person pick. It's quite nice being able to just say, I don't mind, you pick, and I'll play the response. It's kind of cool. Yeah. Okay. One of those. Oh.
Wait, have you started a game?
I haven't yet. I've just created it now. You
Woo.
should be able to join.
Oh.
Cool. I like that if you start it from deck builder, it just picks the deck for you as well. It's pretty cool. Here we go.
Oh, I see. Going corp, are you? Interesting.
That was what we agreed when you were doodling all over the place, going off doing whatever
Look,
it was.
I am taking care of someone who cannot walk at the moment.
I hope you're placing all of her necessary drinks just slightly out of reach. Just like annoyingly 4 or 5
Dave.
inches away. Now's your opportunity, Sharon!
No.
Why have a wife if you're not going to troll her? Okay.
Wow.
Spectators may wonder why I'm single. There's nothing to wonder about. Right, okay.
You just need to meet someone who's going to troll right back.
Exactly. Right, I made some adjustments to Mark's.
I'm all red now, and I don't know if it's because it's something I would do or because I'm horrified by the idea.
It's because you're worried that somebody's onto you. Okay, there we go. I think I've framed Mark properly there. There we go. Right.
That's enough.
Are you ready? Okay. Oh, everything seems so oddly small now. After having... Oh, God. Oh, God.
Oh, sorry, I'm not watching you. I'm looking at my...
I'm doing
Oh,
it.
you're keeping. You're
I'm
keeping.
doing it. I don't... yeah. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know if this is mind games, Dave, or if you really have an on-the-line deck.
Sharon, you have to have a mind to play mind games. I am woefully unarmed in this mind games battle right now. I've turned up to this gunfight with a knife. Right, let's go and let's see. For crying out loud.
Oh, Dave, you had a great starting hand. I don't even know what you were thinking about.
Well, thanks for giving his game away, Mark. That is
Come on,
great.
Mark! How are you disarming me in this mind fight? Why? Baggeration! Sure.
Well, just call it
Mark,
coaching.
subtle.
Okay.
Might as well get the cards out now, Dave. He's giving the game away.
Yeah, he has a bit, hasn't he? He's
Or has he? Is this a double bluff? Are you two in cahoots?
Or has he indeed?
That silence was a second too long.
I think that's right.
Ice server.
Ice server. Boom, 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 boom. Correct. Yeah.
Oh, I feel a little bit sick.
Oh,
Oh,
hello!
it's not a resource.
Oh no! Oh, what? Sure. Turn 1 career fair
In the
daily
interest of
casts.
fairness, I will tell you that Sharon's also got a ridiculously good opening hand.
I did quite good.
Fairness. I've just seen half of what the. Wait, what?
Oh yeah, I've got Earthrise Hotel and daily casts.
2 career firsts.
Right. Okay. Sure. Yeah. A career fair into daily casts and a career fair into Earthrise Hotel. Sure.
Yeah.
It seems like a strong start to me. I'm not an expert, but that seems like it's worked out for you there, Sharon.
Yeah, let's fucking go for
Draws.
it. No money.
Sure.
No cards.
No money. Ha ha. No
Just-
cards.
Just like Mark's told us.
Yeah. Do not do. Sure.
I loved your turn though, up until you went, I know how to spoil it.
Huh.
We like living on the edge, Mark.
Yeah, apparently so.
Whereas Dave is just building up the money.
Yeah, I'm rich. I'm rich. Sharon, it's your turn.
Now, it will ask you, Sharon, which one you want to fire first. And the important thing to remember is, it doesn't matter.
Who cares? You're getting so many resources. Oh, car.
Let's see. Hang on a minute. I'm trying to understand. So I've got Penny Shaver out, Mark. Do I have to make a run with Penny Shaver?
No. Penny Shaver is an also effect.
Got it.
Penny Shaver doesn't give you a clickable option to make a run, does it, either? If you click on it, it just gives you the place 1 credit on and take credits from it option. So I think you're safe from making a mistake where you're like, you know what, I want to run with this, and it gives you no benefit. Archives!
Hi!
Yeah, whatever. Fine. I'd managed to get a face down in Archives, and I was pretty pleased when it accidentally gave me a credit. And I'd missed that. I'd honestly missed it. I'd forgotten about it. If it hadn't been for Jinteki, I would have clean forgotten about it. Yeah.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I'm going to squander my money again.
Love it. Well, I mean, admittedly, you're. Hey, you want to see some cool stuff?
You've got 16 credits. No, I don't want to see what cool stuff you're going to come out with.
Do you want to see some cool stuff? Buff.
What's that? Seamless
Buff.
launch. Lovely.
Buff.
Yep.
Buff. The dream. The dream. And I'm out clicks. There it is.
Very well done.
Mark, all of the things that you said were going to happen for either of us are happening within the first 2 turns. This seems like Magic Christmas Land. I'll be honest.
I'm sure I'm going to be accused of tampering with the code in Jinteki soon to facilitate this.
I'm gonna go danger zone. I think I'm gonna go for it.
What? Oh, I'd forgotten to protect R&D. Sure, yep, that's fair enough.
You were leaning on the inherent protection of snares, Dave, is what you meant to say.
Oh,
Yes.
birds.
Oh, yes, snares! Come on, show me a snare. Waiting for a runner to resolve pending triggers. Oh, it was gaining your credit, not taking one hard slap to the chops. Come on, snares. Bum. Okay, fine, fair enough. But plus side, you can't gain any more credits for making those runs other than your penny shaver runs. Oh, bum.
That is kind of true, isn't it?
Bum. Yeah,
Pop
it's
you out
not
then.
like Zaya's gonna. Sure. Sure. Okay, let's see what we get.
Just out of curiosity, how many La Costa grids do you get in a deck? Is it
I've got
limited?
3 in this because you're allowed 3.
Well, that's poop.
Yeah.
Generally, cards are limit to 3 per deck. There are a number of 1s and there are a tiny number of 6s, but generally it's 3 per deck. And then, for the purposes of these decks, most of the cards are a 3 of. There are a couple of 2 ofs or 1 ofs for various reasons, but mainly 3 ofs.
If you're playing in a tournament, is that the sort of thing you'd expect your opponent to do? Have like 2 sets of 2s and 3s of cards?
I would say probably yes. There are multiple lines of thinking on this. One line of thinking is that your deck should be as simple as possible because that way it gets to what it wants to do as quickly as possible. Although some people would tell you that it's better to have as many different options to as many different questions as possible, and therefore you should have one of these and one of them and try to cover multiple bases. I think that really gets into then your individual play styles and your meta choices and that type of stuff.
Okay.
It's
I
certainly
don't have any ice out.
It's certainly a reasonable conclusion to say if somebody has 1 copy of a card, they're likely to have more copies of the same card.
Okay.
I think I'm the same as you, Jessica. I like the idea of having a singleton deck where you've got 1 of every card, and you just have options that you never get. You never get them when you need them, right? But they're there. They are there, and so you spend all of your time with your fingers crossed. But when it happens, it's the perfect hit. Oh, it cost 2 less to install. That was cheap. Yeah, exactly. Right, a magic Christmas land. Yeah. Okay. That's a killer, which does in centuries, doesn't it?
Oh, that was a nice surprise. I wasn't even paying attention to that lovely little Carmen quirk.
What, the cost?
Yeah, the cost reduction if you made a successful run.
Knowing what your cards do is half the battle.
Yeah.
Oh, Dave, party pooper.
Yeah, sorry.
You should be.
Sorry, not sorry.
Now. What to do next? What are you doing? Protecting R&D, drawing a card. Got a healthy number of credits as well. Oh, protecting HQ? You've only got 1 card in there. What are you so excited about?
Oh gosh, cash coming out my bum, Sharon. I want to spend it.
Righty-tighty. What do we want to do? I want to have some ice.
You want to have ice?
Yeah.
Same. I don't want to have ice. I want to have programs.
Programs to kill ice. For sure.
What are you? I mean, could take a punt, couldn't I, and hope for the best in terms of running R&D or HQ? And hope that your card is a sentry. But then I know what the next card you drew was.
Of course, I'd forgotten you had information.
The real question is, do I remember what it does? And did you even play that card?
I've still got a card in hand. It might be that it's so expensive that I've given up on the concept entirely.
Well, you can see from the Jinteki interface, Dave has 2 cards with an orange border, which means he played them in his last turn. So even if you know what one of them is, you don't know which way round it is.
That's true, but even if but the risk of running into it and not having the icebreaker, the program that I need, it's too great. What to do? Fuck it, let's draw.
Don't forget, you can still run archives for your penny shaver bonuses and anything. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
That's true.
Sure. Yeah.
But if I was going to do that, I'd just gain a credit. Like,
yeah.
what's the point?
Now it's a central server though, and you can run it with Red Team for four credits worth of benefit, which I'm not super happy about, I guess.
I'm having a lovely little nipper at the moment. Really nice.
Yes.
Oh,
the description is totally, for me, I don't taste what they're talking about. They're talking about tart tangerine and lime juice cutting through a creamy body, an orange sherbet finish. Now, I taste a delicious beer.
Now, a nipper is a 9 times IPA, right? And so it's probably about 40 to 50%. Is that correct?
Almost. It's 6.6.
Sure. That doesn't seem as strong as I expected from a 9 times IPA there. It's your go, by the way, Sharon.
I wasn't paying attention. What did you do?
I scored Off-World Office.
Oh, you and your several credits gained.
Yes, 7.
Oh, I'm sorry, 7.
7. Not several, 7. It was, I mean, technically 7 is several. Right? Oh. Yeah, go on. Have a look at those 5 cards.
How many penny shavers are you allowed out at one time?
1. Limit 1 console per player, so you're only allowed 1 penny shaver. Can you imagine the shenanigans that would occur if you had multiple penny shavers out?
It would be glorious.
Rich. You'd be so rich.
You've got 5 agenda points. I have none. This is a nightmare. But I have all the memory space in the world.
You can install a lot of things though, Sharon, that is true.
Why do you need 9 credits? Why did you need 5 more credits there, Dave? It's just being greedy.
It was a good turn. So, just grabbing some milk and some yogurt.
Milk is delicious. Oh wait, is he at his desk?
I mean, no, carry on. It's your go.
Oh no,
have you done something that requires me to respond in some way?
Look, Dave, it's okay. I was faffing about earlier when we were getting very detailed descriptions from the cards, from Mark, on the cards. I mean, the cards were just there, weren't they?
Tread lightly,
Mark was just reading from them.
Tread lightly, eh? A barrier.
I haven't written any of these cards myself. That is true.
So it's a barrier.
Oh, I hate myself so much.
4 strength. Oh my god! Wow, that was pretty pricey.
No shh. Jokes.
Hey. It's going to cost you all the cards in your hand.
I mean, do I really care?
Wait, fire all unbroken. Okay.
Yeah, what else am I going to do?
Pew. Pew pew. Cool. Okay. Yeah.
What is it? If it's a goddamn thing I can.
It's a snare. Well done. Yeah. No, it is. That would be incredible. No, unfortunately, it is. It is 2 points worth. Well done.
Money or cards? Oh, let's gain credit. No, let's draw. Oh. Oh, hello.
Mm-hmm.
Very expensive turn for both of you. Dave has lost an awful lot of credits.
An awful lot of credits. Right. Now, let me do a quick maths, because...
Don't do the maths, Dave. Maths just lets you down. You think it's going to support you, does it buggery?
Fair enough. I should probably avoid doing maths, is what you're saying.
What's the card Cortex Locks? Jessica just mentioned it in the chat.
Cortex Lock.
Cortex Lock is an ice that's been rotated out of the game now, which had one subroutine on it, and it said, do 1 net damage for each unused memory unit the runner has. So at present, that would have done 6 damage to you.
Good lord.
Oh, wow.
And it only cost 2 to res, and it was a 4th strength sentry. So it was very expensive to break.
Wow.
And it caught out a lot of people on the what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst they could do with 2 credits? Oh, kill me! I see.
Oof.
That's a 2.
Very brutal. That sounds it.
Up against a forward cost.
Just before it rotated, it killed me on the second click of the game.
Ha ha! Wow.
3 credits.
Wow.
And that would
I installed a penny shaver so that I would get a benefit from the credit, and then I made a run on HQ where they rezzed Cortex Lock, and I was down. The penny shaver had made it that I had 5 unused MU, and I only had 4 cards in hand.
Oh, I love it. Oh, wait, what have you done? Archives. You've done something to archives.
I put some protection on archives.
And then you drew another card. So you drew 2 cards and you protected archives. Well, I definitely need to keep some draw action going, don't I? Wait, what have I got money-wise? Should I use it? Should I set myself up for next time? So that was a 4 Palisade and a 4 Karuna.
Oh, hello.
Hiya. I mean, it's limited use. I should have probably got it out a bit sooner, but so be it.
Right. 1, 2.
No. Oh no!
3.
Oh God, Dave, no! Is that end game? Is that what I'm seeing?
End the turn. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, that is end game. That is end game. I thought I'd fluffed up there, but mathematically, I don't think.
Oh fuck! Sorry.
I think unless unless you accidentally access something bonkers in R&D.
No, I had something. I was silly with my.
Oh, do you want to take this turn back? I don't mind if you've really.
No, Dave. No. I deserve it. I made the plays in the order I chose, and it is my fault.
I'm about to win.
I know, but that's okay.
Are you sure you don't want another go at it?
I am okay. It's okay.
Right. Well, in that
You
case,
deserve the win, Dave. You take the win.
as long as I've advanced the... Wait, have I advanced the wrong... Have I accidentally advanced Anoetic Void there?
I don't think so. I don't think I'll let you do that.
I don't
Okay,
think you
good.
can advance that, right?
There we go.
Yay! Well done.
Yay, purge virus counters! Money! Ah!
Shenanigans!
Ah!
Good game. That was a good game.
Well played. Well played. Well played. So... Yeah, I think you could have squeezed me for one more turn based on the amount of credits that it takes to advance.
Well, what I failed to
Yeah, one of
remember,
each.
because I had an overclock in my hand, is that it cost 1 credit. I should not have put Leech down.
Ah, okay.
You should not have put Unity down, more importantly.
No, but I wanted Unity. Oh no, I guess I could have broken through the cards.
You didn't need
You're
Unity.
Right. I should not have put down Leech. I should not have put down Unity. I should have used my overclock to get to your card. But then Anoetic Void. Could you res Anoetic Void?
Anoetic Void
res
is
that card?
free to res.
So no, I mean just so I can read it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, can I res? There we go. So now you can hover it. So yeah, I would have paid 2 and trashed 2 cards from HQ. That would have meant that I was 1 turn away from the danger zone, right? I would have, in 1 turn, been incapable, I think, of paying enough to advance and score in 1 turn, I think. Yeah. And the worst part is... What you didn't see was the 2 that I would have had to throw away were both agendas, which, if you'd then run archives, would have put you 1 point away from winning, and it would have been on a knife edge. I was
just too low on credits. Just too low.
Yeah, just.
What you were guilty of in that game, Sharon, was when you were installing all those memory diamonds and the Docklands Pass and everything. You should have been drawing to get your cleaver and your Unity out earlier.
Yeah.
I know balancing your hand is important, but...
Yeah. No, I should have. I'm always so reluctant to have to throw cards away.
Well, it was kind of a surprise.
It's a flaw of mine.
Because you had Earthrise out really quickly, which got you 6 cards right at the start. I think you just got really boned on the card draw there, getting to your icebreakers. Because the rest of it, I mean, it's all cool stuff. Like, there was a lot of cash came out there.
Yeah.
Like 2 daily casts.
I spent it, didn't I?
Yeah.
I spent it too soon. I should have drawn. And you were really good at getting those 2 agenda scored quite, like, really early.
Quite quickly. Well, the vulnerability audit, I slipped under because you didn't have any ice that could get to it. I was like, right,
I didn't have any ice.
This is it, straight away, one of those. And then I had I think it was the Outworld office next, and by that point you had the Carmen out, I think, but fortunately it would have only stopped you at 1 point. And it was the sentry. It wasn't
for you, Dave, is why did you do vulnerability audit before Off-World Office?
So I did vulnerability audit because I didn't know if Sharon would be able to, because vulnerability audit has to stay on the board for a turn, right? So I wasn't sure if, and it scores 3 points, which is a lot. Right, that's the tick over, isn't it? Because all of the other agendas are 2 pointers. So if 2 points, 2 points, 2 points goes down, that's not a win. But 2 point, 2 point, 3 point, that's a win. So
I'm not suggesting you don't score vulnerability audit at any point.
For sure. For sure. I just wanted it done first. I was like, right, I want it out of the way because it's dangerous in my hand.
Yeah.
I would have gone with the Off-World Office first, because after you're scoring that, you're going to be at 7 credits or whatever it is overall better off.
For sure.
And so still in a position to defend yourself.
For sure,
rather than being relatively poor.
Yeah.
But it worked out fine.
Yeah. Plus, I'd hit a Hansei review and a hedge fund as well, and I was rich as all hell at that point. Yeah. So I
Slightly
think I
veering off
felt
the
pretty
game.
confident.
So I've gone back to the stream, and Dave, on your background, there's a person with spiky green hair. Who's that?
It's Ketzel.
Petzel.
We'll be talking about them later.
Ooh, later today, later next week.
Yes.
Mark, later today or later next week?
Yes.
We'll be talking about them later today.
Hey.
But for now, do you want to replay the game you've just had, or do you want to swap sides?
Well, I think we should swap sides.
Swap sides. It's absolutely side swapping time. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, you ready?
Yes. Ready and excited to be here.
Create. Select deck. Zaya.
I'm almost sad I didn't get to publish your decks, Dave, just because I didn't have the opportunity to put my spin on your deck building.
What to tell me in the comments exactly what you thought of my decks?
Absolutely. Dave's attempt to play fast and hard. Little did he know RNG hates him.
That's true, but it can't all be RNG. Some of it is my own ineptitude. Oh my!
Let's see.
What? Oh. Jesus Christ. Okay.
Going in blind.
I'm keeping it. I don't know if this is. Yeah, no. Shit. I don't know. Kind of feel like I might have badly assessed that.
For my 2 pennies worth that you didn't ask for, I thought Sharon's first hand was borderline. I can go either way on that. I thought your hand, Dave, was a definite mulligan. So
yeah.
Prove me wrong, kids. Prove me wrong.
Yeah, maybe. I just saw bad economy and thought that'll do for econ. There's a couple of things down there that are all mashed together nicely, but it's going to take a bit to get them mashing together nicely. I don't know. I don't know, Mark. I don't know what I'm doing really. Does anybody deep down?
Well, that's for the court to decide.
Oh, Sharon, gotta play something. There it is. Okay, right. So first things first.
Oh, that's bad gameplay, isn't it? I should do what Mark always tells us. What? Rubbish.
Run. R&D first. Cool. Yes.
Did you mean to click red team then, Dave?
Did I not click red team to do the run?
You didn't. You did not.
Oh, I clicked run. Okay. Slash.
Oh, first undo click of the game.
Damn it!
Wow, we got through a full game.
Oh, we did.
What type of medal or award should we give you now? It can't be the wooden spoon. That's got a very specific meaning. The asbestos tankard. Okay. Well done, Dave.
There it is. That's the one. There it is. Click this. R&D. Access the server. Asbestos tankard. Oh, hey, I remember this. Yes, I want one of those. Right now.
What?
I think.
Oh, yes, you do want the money.
Yup. Now I do this. Now I do this.
Why didn't you put Leech out first, Dave?
Because I had no money, Sharon.
Oh, sorry.
Because I was poor.
Sorry. I
Yeah.
understand. I will not question your choices.
No, please do. Yeah.
Oh yes, first turn has turned out quite well, Dave.
Right.
With the
Okay, so that's what I thought. Okay, I had a plan. It was really bad. It's going to be the same plan next turn. Not
didn't
even
know
joking.
you. I didn't know you and Sharon were in cahoots to undermine my strategies by leaving R&D wide open for each other. It was
Wide open. You notice that I gave her a... Oh, for crying out loud! I gave Sharon an open R&D for like 4 turns last time, maybe 5, because I'm generous like that. Now
Were you
what
generous,
I
or
do?
did you have no ice?
This and wow, I could put ice down any time I like. I could put ice down now. Then I'm going to run
Quetzal.
archives. Cool.
Where's that goddamn purge card?
Cool.
That's what I want.
5 credits. 5 English credits, is it? 5 credits. 5 whole credits. That's what you've got. You've got 5 credits. 5.
I have 5 credits. There's a lot you can do with 5 credits.
There certainly is. Let's take a punt. We might as well.
You have 4 credits, correct?
Yeah, I've got 4 credits and a barrier out.
I mean, there's no real point, really.
Yes!
Or
It
is
could
there?
go badly!
Is
Everything does! Let's go!
Hang on.
Oh god! Oh god, I just realised like the really bad mistakes I could have made here. Like the amount of meat damage I could be about to face could be huge. This could be the biggest spank. Okay. I did not consider my actions.
There we go. It's not worth it.
He's through!
oh,
I know, I wanted that. I wanted that badly.
that was the boldest play I've seen for some time. If that had been a tithe, it was game over. If
it had been
a snare, it was game over.
It could have been cheap as chips, right? And all it needed to do was 1 meat damage and I was done so. Meow. Oh my gosh.
Sad time.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay, I need to go
as we
into
say,
a dark room for a minute with like whale song. And just well done me.
Well done you, because that was really good.
That was Sharon, I thought you were about to spank me then. Like
No.
fully kill the hell out of me. I thought I was running right up against the nose of it. You could say I was stepping razor. Ow! 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 No. Old school cyberpunk references, anyone? No? Okay, we're cool. In that case, yeah, just sat there happily getting rich, Sharon.
Why not?
Happily getting rich. Another one on server 1. Okay. Let's think about what you did last turn and why. Shit. Okay, why I should run server 1 again with limited credits exactly as it was. Right. So you didn't res because of the cost to protect it. Right, but was it because rezzing it would have rezzed a barrier and you knew that I could still break through it, which meant that cost effectively it wasn't worth your while resing it then, but you could do it now. And if it was a barrier, does that mean that for 4 I could break both subroutines on it? Because I had 4 credits. And if that's the case, is it worth me running your archives, accessing the server, getting my leeches strong, and then drawing because I'm a big Jesse, and then running server 1? Oh, I knew it! I knew it! I knew it! It had to be! So,
I actually did try and res it, and it told me I didn't have enough money. Because you had tread lightly.
Oh, I've got to continue to encounter that. Well, okay, so I thought you'd just chosen not to res it because it was really inefficient. But actually, you're right. You wouldn't have had enough dosh. So if I hit it with that, it's got 1. So I spend 1 to fully break it. And then it's onto you to fire unbrokens and let me past.
Oh, it doesn't give me the... Oh, continue.
And then I access the server.
Wait, just quickly. Am I allowed to res that card, Mark, before Dave accesses it?
Yes.
Can I res it?
Not right now, because Dave has already accessed it.
Damn it.
But
do you want me to finish this, undo the click, and then we'll go through it again so you can res the spin doctor and do the spin doctor correctly?
Yes, please, because I feel like you're going to trash it.
Yes. Correct. So if we /undo click. I mean, I'm super sad that wasn't another agenda. But right, how did I do the run? I did the run as a standard run, didn't I? Run.
Yeah.
Server 1. Continue to
Res
approach
Palisade.
server. Hit this. Hosted. -1. Hit this. Fully break Palisade. And then we're good.
Because of the foibles, I now res it now. Is that correct, Mark?
it doesn't matter for Spin Doctor. You can let Dave continue one more time if you like, but it's fine.
Well,
that rule about resing before he passes the ice applies to upgrades, so Analytic Void and Skunk Works.
Cool. Oh. Okay. Groovy, and now I access an empty
server. At least you
server.
didn't lose 2 credits.
Yeah,
you didn't lose 2 credits.
It's true. I suppose what you could have done is actually just let me trash it to cost me 2 creds. Which
I know, but I wanted to use it.
Sure. I mean, all you were doing was putting a hedge fund back in your deck, like 1 hedge fund. It wasn't like the most important of
No, it
cards.
lets me draw 2 cards.
Oh, sure, when you res it. But when you remove it from the game, you shuffle 2 cards from archives into R&D. Yeah,
Never
and
mind.
you could leave it in server 1 so that I can choose whether I want to trash it or not. If I don't trash it, then what I'm potentially looking at is you using something in sticking it in archives and then jamming it straight back in your deck again. Oh, so it really leaves me with a bit of a quandary. But cool. Oh, bum. Okay, fair enough.
I want to get rid of anything.
There is at least 2 cards you can get rid of though, Sharon, if you're contemplating what I think you're contemplating.
But what are they?
Ha!
I don't see what you see, Mark. I'm not Clarice.
Well, I can't.
Don't forget.
I can't give it too much away. But...
Right. Oh my God. Okay. No, you don't take snares. Don't affect you when they're in archives, do they?
No.
Okay, so at least I won't be hitting a face down snare and killing myself. Sure. That Hansei review though. Very nice. And you've got a click left. Which gets you at least 11 credits at the end of the turn. Sure. Sure. That makes sense. Okay. So.
That view went down far too quickly.
Let's remove your face down so that it's face up.
Aww.
Yeah, sorry. You did the same thing to me last game, Sharon. Exactly the same. I was like, oh, I'm excited about this. Okay. What are the chances that that ice is the same or... can I access your archives, please?
Oh gosh, yes, I guess so.
Thanks. Okay, now... Oh, hell's teeth. Right. Right, what's the worst that could happen? I want to see what is in front of HQ, please. It's so costly to poke. This is ridiculous. Oh, it's a sentry. Oh, I'm taking a net damage. Oh, I'm getting through. Yes! I will happily take a net damage to get through. Thank you very much. Continue to encounter ice. I can't do anything about it. It's a sentry. Lol. Let unbroken subroutines fire.
T4 memory diamond.
It does it at random. Right. Then I pass ice and continue. Then I access the server.
Oh wait, there's some chat. Multi-access becomes so scary against Vintech in Snare. Love it. That hasn't occurred to you yet, Dave.
No. The pain is right. Okay, so at the moment, the pain is cool. Okay, it's cool. I can handle the pain. However, yes, and yes, it was a zero cost. Okay, yeah. So right. It's going to be painful, but I was happy to lose those cards from hand, and I'm happy to lose them again. I'm happy to keep losing
let's
them
res that.
if I
Let's
have to.
pop you. Oh, 3 cards to choose from.
I'll cut out my own eye if it offends me.
That one and that one.
Sharon's agendas are offending me. Oh my god, another spin doctor. Sure.
Oh, I kind of felt like it.
Yeah.
God, come on.
Okay. I've already got my next turn planned, Sharon. I hope you're ready for this.
Well, I don't know what I'm going to do, really. Should I? Well, Mark always says draw first.
Yep. And then we always draw last. That's the rules. Mark always says draw first, and then we don't draw until the end of the turn. Oh! Interesting.
It is, isn't it?
Interesting.
I'm quite pleased by that.
That could be a La Costa.
Oh, god damn it! I should have put a card in archives and got extra credit.
Huh. I mean, you can't just put... Oh, right. Okay, by not doing stuff. Sure.
Oh, Dave, there are
Yeah.
cards that are removed from the game. Mark, do we just leave them there?
They just sit there.
Well, bringing them back into the game would be first-class cheating. So, yeah, I think so.
Right.
Although I do love the boldness of just putting the cards back in the game,
I'll just drag them back into my hand and see if you notice.
casually just.
Admittedly, that is the same area as the play area, which is where you have to drag them back from. But no, in this case, that is the remove from game area where they must reside.
How many
Okay.
cards do you have?
I've got 3. Why are you so interested in how much meat damage I can take, Sharon? Why is that interesting to you?
I don't know what you're talking about. So there, that's little. Is that reckless? Who cares?
Oh.
And
Mark, why did you put that agenda in? What were you playing at? What were you even thinking? Why would you
Now
do?
you know why I hate that agenda so much.
Why would you do this? Why would you do
I'm
this?
so excited.
God damn it. Okay,
It
sure.
only completely shuts down any virus-based strategies in the game. Why isn't that a problem?
I feel violated. That was painful. And you got credits for it. It's so rude. Oh my god. Okay, sure, fine. Balls. Wow. Let's have a look.
Oh no, Dave! Why have you got so many cards? Mark, I assume that when you're in tournament play, you can't have like this casual, nice chat with your
You're not allowed it.
opponent.
You're not allowed it.
So it's not like when you play poker and you see in poker tournaments, there's always one guy's like giving it a bit of lip.
No, I mean, as in most areas of life, there's a general rule of don't be a dick. The amount of small talk you can get away with in the game very much depends on, who you're playing and how tense it is or whatever. I've played in highly competitive games where I've still been able to have chat with the other player while still concentrating what I'm doing, but other players would sit quite silently and purely focus on what they're doing. It's a little bit horses for courses in that regard. But yeah, don't just blather on, distracting people if it's not okay.
Mark, that's my only technique. I only have that strategy. Blathering. This is.
Sorry, Dave.
Sharon, why'd you stop my relentless assault on archives for money and leech tokens? Why did you feel the need to do this?
I think you could just have a crack at it anyway, Dave.
Sure.
Go on. Make my day.
Oh no.
Oh, I can't see your face. Right, let me just.
3. Why not? What? It's right here.
Well,
it's like on the front of my head for easy
Dave,
access.
On Discord, I just see the middle screen that you have. Oh, actually, I just see the middle sliver. And I don't want to pin it because then I get a full view of your screen, even though it's on the iPad.
Okay.
What a nightmare.
Ha!
Nightmare.
Thanks, Mark. Wow.
A neutral agenda is one that is costs no influence, right? What's that? What have you just done?
One of the grey ones.
Penny
I put
shaver.
down my penny shaver.
Team daily costs.
Yeah.
I want to tag you so bad.
all of the agendas in this deck are neutral because they're all that grey colour. It doesn't necessarily mean they're influence-free because vulnerability audit is an influence despite being neutral. But what it means is they can appear in any deck, whereas most agendas can only be played within their own faction.
I could get really spanked here. Oh, but I can't get spanked to death. 3 cards. Okay.
Why? How many damage does 2 snares do?
Oh, you make a very good point. You make a very good point. Look, if I'm unlucky enough that Sharon has 2 snares in hand and I access them both on a 50-50, I deserve to lose. Okay.
Well, I have to say, I think one of us was lucky.
Yeah, boy!
Why are you taking my agendas, Dave?
Because you're not giving me any snares. I'm putting me off.
Why don't you have a pump to R&D?
Sounds risky. Sounds real risky. Oh, it sounds real.
It could be the winning move. You never know.
Sounds real risky. Right, 1. Oh, you got 13 credits. Boo.
Wait, how many spin doctors do I have in this deck? Let me check.
Oh, 3, I think.
Oh. Yes, 3. That makes me happy.
Correct, Sharon. Why don't I approach R&D? Oh, shit. Oh, no. Oh, no. Am I doing this? Yep. Oh, no. Okay.
You might win.
It's kill or cure.
Win,
It's kill or cure.
it is, isn't it?
No!
Oh, my word!
Oh, well, I mean.
Oh.
No regrets.
See the snare claw.
I hope someone's clipping that because holy moly!
No regrets.
You have been mind gamed into the ground there, Dave. That is incredible.
Oh, I don't trash it. Dang it.
You steal an agenda, you go on to 5 points, you've got everything sewn up. I know I'll make a blind run on R&D.
You know what? I just thought it would be the most explosive way to win would be to 1 turn it and just go bam. I'll have that one from your hand and that one from R&D. Oh, well done. Well played.
At least we got to see Snare at last anyway.
We did. Yeah, grim.
Do you know, my initial thought is I think the corp deck is much stronger than this runner deck when playing against each other. I'm curious as to how the Tau Salonga card and the deck you could build from that would work against this.
I don't know. I think I tarted around and didn't draw enough cards then. If you look at the cards drawn, you're on 26 and I was on 15. I wasn't concentrating enough on card draw. I wasn't peeling my way through my deck fast enough. And instead of playing that run at the end, I should have just been on card draw from this point on until I start to get something that I can work my way through, something that isn't a barrier.
Where were your programs?
Yeah. That
if you hover over your
question.
Your
so my
deck,
programs were all a little further on, shall we say?
That's such a pain.
Wait, is that? Oh wow, Yeah, it would have been a while before I got my software on account of it all being at the bottom of my deck.
Yeah, that's a lot of.
But
That sucks.
let's not forget, Jinteki.net's shuffling algorithm hates me. Hates me. So this is kind of understandable. Yeah.
So, one of the drawbacks of this runner deck, and deliberately so, is that it doesn't have many magic answers to making a run. So I didn't put any mayflies in there. I haven't put any mutual favours in there. It
that's a
wants
surprise.
you to draw your cards the old-fashioned way by getting to them quickly. Now, what I've tried to compensate for in that is having 3 tread lightlies. So with the idea being that if the runner is struggling to find the breakers, they can keep the pressure on by forcing you to pay more to res your cards, and that will keep it in check. It's not guaranteed to work that way, but that was the thought process at the time. I think what we've seen from both runner games is with Red Team being so cheap, and with it being a fairly aggressively tuned deck, we've done a lot of running and not a lot of drawing of cards.
True.
And you just have to get that balance, because even if you don't hit Snare, you have to be in a position where you can challenge the remote to stop the corp just sticking things in there and scoring as they feel like it. So that's one of the things you've got to have in your mind. Can I actually stop the corp from scoring out at the moment? And not get that you might need your programs or whatever to do that. Well, it's not always easy, and sometimes all your programs are at the bottom.
I think I was using most of my card draw to try and avoid getting slapped to death with a snare. However, I'd misremembered the amount of damage that snare does by 1, and so all of my maths had led me to be really, really ballsy for no good reason. Like I genuinely was like, snare does 2 damage. This 2 damage can't kill me now. I'm safe. This will be fine.
No, Dave, no. Oh, that sucks.
But that was spot on, flatlined.
I like that they call that flatline.
Yeah, job's a good one.
Love it.
Brain burnt out from the inside.
So
cool.
Now we're going to learn about Quetzal.
Yeah, so now we're moving on to the more of me talking and explaining some new cards to you. Because what we're going to do in this new season, if you like, is move away from me just coming up with cards for you and try to put the emphasis on you guys thinking about cards and thinking about decks that you might put them in. So what we're going to do now is kind of the classroom session, if you like, and we're going to look at some cards, and then your homework is going to be building your own deck based on some criteria, and that's what we'll start the play with next week.
Cool.
But if we don't know all the new cards in Startup, if one of us doesn't know all the new cards in Startup, doesn't that put that person at a disadvantage?
Sharon, both of us don't know all the new cards in Startup at the moment.
I don't believe you.
I'm going to be reading into. Okay, sure. You play you're playing the old. I haven't looked at any of the cards in Startup. You've looked at all of them. I know what you're like. You've gone through them, made notes on all of the ones you want to play with, all of the ones that have cool artwork or absolutely thrash your opponent into the ground like a threshing machine, right? And then you've gone, yeah, I think I'll just put all of these unfairly costed cards, unbalanced car into one deck, and
that is the student I would like to be, and that is the student I pretended I was when I sat at the front of the lecture hall for every lecture,
nodding.
Yeah, nodding blankly, thinking if I nod enough, they might just give me a few extra points.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm ready.
Luckily, I wasn't born yesterday, so the restrictions that I'm going to introduce.
Oh, restrictions!
Go off and pick any card you feel like, whether you know what it does or not, or whether we've looked at it or not. What we're going to look at is we're going to talk through some cards now, so that we all know they exist, and that's what we're going to add into the card pool for next week.
Gotcha.
Not every card in startup,
Dave.
just the cards we've already covered, and the cards that we go through in the classroom.
Okay.
So,
am I allowed to get a beer?
You can get a beer whilst Dave takes us over to Netrunner DB.
Woo woo.
Okay, we're zooming over to Netrunner DB now. Hold on to your pants. Meow. There it is.
Okay, and you're on the sets list already, which is great.
I am.
I would like you to go to System Update 2021, please.
Let's zoom
Then
this in
I
a
would
bit.
like you to... well, no, stop everything.
Oh, don't zoom in a bit.
Well, maybe, but first of all, I want you to go to the third filter of the three at the top, and I'd like you to change that to View as Full Cards.
Gotcha.
And then I'd like you to click Search again, because it needs you to do that too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe.
And then we get a nice full screen view of these cards.
Cool.
You can zoom in that slightly if you wish, but not to that point. No,
Okay.
As usual, too far, too soon.
There we go. Right, let's actually snip this. Get rid of all of this schmutz and here, and put the cards as big as they can be, sort of front and center, like so.
Wow, this is...
Oh yeah, on the fly, Mark. On the fly. That's how we do it.
If someone had seen the start of the stream, they wouldn't have believed that was within our remit.
Not even possible. There we go.
No.
What?
So,
Quetzal breaks a barrier for free, or breaks a sub on a barrier for free.
I know, she sounds like my type of identity.
Yeah, barrier break-ins. Oh, that's cool, I guess. That's cool,
okay,
I guess.
we'll wait for... I don't know where Sharon's moved her fridge to that this beer's taken so long, but...
I'm being a good person. And I'm cutting up some healthy snacks.
Yeah, I don't know if their ability... I don't know. It seems sort of smart, right? Like, because matching the cost of the power on some barriers is painful, but then breaking them, I mean, all I've experienced so far is Cleaver, and that smashes barriers, and it's in color as well, so
Okay, so...
looks pretty.
The cards we're going to look at in the remainder of tonight is not all of the cards. I'm sure you and the stream are relieved. We are going to look at just System Update 2021. So, as you remember, we've got System Gateway, we've got System Update, and we've got Ashes. We're not going to look at Ashes yet. We're just going to look at System Update 2021.
Gotcha.
As we've talked about Quetzal already, we're going to look at the Anarch cards within update 2021, and we're also going to look at the Hasbioroid cards from 2021. And I think off the top of my head, that's maybe sort of 13, 14 cards, which is still a lot, but as we now know how these cards work, hopefully we'll be able to go through them a little quicker than we have done in the past.
Aces.
So, first off, we have Quetzal. And Quetzal is an Anarch ID. They have 0 link and 4 MU as always. Their identity is Gmod, and their ability says for 0 credits, break 1 barrier subroutine and use this ability only once per turn. Now,
Love it.
it's an interesting one. It's a different one. The key part of what Dave said earlier was, well, sometimes you have to spend all the money just to get up to the same strength of them. Now, if you remember right back from episode 1, we spoke about Nisei introducing a new keyword now, which is called interface. An interface means if you want to use this ability, then you must match the strength of the ice that you're interacting with. Quetzal does not say interface.
Sure.
So Quetzal can break barriers regardless of how strong they are.
Nice.
Was the whole interface keyword brought in order to help clarify how Quetzal's used? Or is it just it's been in the works for a while for clarification?
I think the latter. Helping clarify Quetzal does help, but yeah, it's supposed to become shorthand for you must pump a breaker to the same strength of this before you can interact with it.
Sure.
And therefore, if it doesn't say interface, like Botulus doesn't say interface, then it means you can use it regardless of strength.
Cool.
The other thing to note about Quetzal is the flavor text, which says, the hue of your soul, the voice of your spirit, the shape of your flesh are yours to decide. Be free. So, Quetzal is in some ways the poster child of
breaking down barriers.
In what we would call today transgender, what in the cyberpunk future is probably transhumanism, and
Wow.
they choose how they want to look and how they want to exist. So
they are fantastic.
They are very much a they. So, and obviously green hair is not a naturally occurring phenomenon as we understand of it. In fact, is it even hair? We don't know.
I mean, the name, the clothes, the hair, they all suggest a serpentine obsession for old Quetzal, which is pretty cool. Like, it's a pretty solid identity.
Yeah. Yes, the breaking down barriers is a lovely way of putting it as well. So
cool.
That's Quetzal.
Quetzal, excellent.
Moving on.
Next up,
we now have Reina Roja, the Freedom Fighter, and Reina has a link.
sure.
Which is the first ID I think we've seen with Link, because all the System Gateway IDs don't have it, but she has one link. 4 MU as always.
Mm-hmm.
She's a cyborg and she's a Gmod. So because she's a soldier, a literal soldier in this sense, she has very much been fixed after being broken many times.
Cool.
And her ability is, the first piece of ice the corp reses each turn costs 1 more to res. Which just makes everything that little bit more taxing. So it's like having a mini tread lightly built in.
Sure.
This is
Every
going to
turn.
screw
Oh!
us both over, isn't it, Dave?
Just made a good point. Quetzal is the bird part of Quetzalcoatl. Coatl is the serpent part. So in fact, that is not snakeskin-esque. That's kind of like chest of a bird, which is kind of cool. Yeah, like the looks like the bird. But yeah, this is this effect. I'm all about this. This is cool.
Taxing.
Yeah.
And there have been decks in the past, famously Headlock Rainer, just used to make the corp have no credits whatsoever, because it would run HQ with a card called Lamprey that made the corp lose credits on a successful run, and then they would res ice to try and stop that they had to pay an extra credit for because of Rainer's ability. And then they played a card called Emergency Shutdown that de-res the ice. And then they were stuck in a hole of I'm damned if I res it or I'm damned if I don't res it.
It's strong.
We haven't seen that type of deck for a while, but that's the type of thing you can do with Rainer.
Sure.
Why haven't you seen that type of deck in a while?
Just because probably stronger archetypes have taken over, and the cards available to make it happen haven't been quite there. Lamprey was a key part of that, and Lamprey has rotated.
Gotcha.
Got it.
Okay, next one. We're into the event section now. So the first event is called En Passant, and for those of you who like a bit of theme and flavour in what they do, Rainer, as well as being a freedom fighter and a soldier, is an expert chess player. So En Passant is a move patented by Rainer.
Sure.
And offers a nice synergy with her ability. So this says, play only if you made a successful run this turn. Trash one unresed piece of ice you passed during your last turn. So you make a run on a server. You don't want to pay the Rainer tax or you can't afford to pay the Rainer tax, and then she makes a successful run, and then she plays En Passant to make you trash that ice instead.
And the threat of En Passant might make you rethink paying the tax as well, where despite you not wanting to res it, you're going to, so you don't lose out on cards.
Yeah.
Gosh. Cool.
Okay. Next we have Retrieval Run. Retrieval Run is a run, unsurprisingly. It costs you 3 credits to play, and it says, run archives. If successful, instead of breaching archives, you may install one program from your heap, ignoring all costs.
Excellent.
Whoa!
Excellent, I'm here for this.
Protecting the archives at all costs.
Has 2 big uses. So if you lose a program because it might have been retributioned, or you might have hit a snare when you had it in your hand and you accidentally lose it, Retrieval Run allows you a get-out clause, because you can, if you're able to make a successful run on archives, you can then install it from your heap instead of from your hand. Alternatively, and more ambitiously, if you've got a very expensive program, and I think 5 is the most expensive program we've got at the moment with Carmen. If you threw your Carmen away and then you made a retrieval run, you could install it for
3 in an archive run.
Yeah, rather than 5. Now, that wouldn't make any sense just to do it purely like that, because if you'd made a successful run, you could have then paid 3 to install Carmen from hand.
Sure.
But that type of idea has been used before for some of the bigger programs in the game that can cost you 8 to install, for example.
Yeah. Nice.
Wow. I do love the raccoon.
Yeah. Grabbing
So
stuff out
cute.
the bin.
Wait,
Excellent.
what's this one?
Excellent.
The next card, we're into programs now. Now, this program doesn't have a massive amount of application within the card pool we're playing at the moment. But what Clot says is that the corp cannot score an agenda during the same turn that they've installed it. So there is a way of playing Netrunner which involves using cards like Biotic Labour or Game Changer or other shenanigans-based things where you never make them vulnerable, as we spoke about vulnerable. You never place them on the board for a turn. You just always install them from your hand. You always score them straight out of your hand by using some level of click manipulation or other type of effect. Well, this stops you from doing that.
So that
This
sort
says
of
it
deck
has to be on the board.
saves cache and clicks by only installing ice on R&D and HQ, maybe a touch of Don't Touch Me on archives, and saves it, right? So they don't have to install on a remote server because they're going hell for leather on scoring quickly. But Clot,
That's one way of looking at it, yeah.
yeah, sure.
Ah, interesting.
As you can see in its second clause there, because this is a virus, when this gets purged, you trash it. You don't just move tokens off it, you trash the whole thing.
Of course, because it doesn't
So-
accrue anything, does it?
Yeah. Now, going back to retrieval run, if it got purged,
Sure.
you could retrieval run it back and put it back on the table, because that would be installing something from archives if you needed to. But yeah, that's what it's there for.
Solid.
Next, we have Corroder. And Corroder is an alternative to Cleaver. And Corroder is a card that's been in the game forever and is very basic but very strong. 2 cost to install, takes up 1 memory unit. It's a fractor, it breaks barriers, and it simply says +1 to increase strength, +1 to break when you're interfacing.
That's cheap as chips.
So if you compare it to Cleaver, assuming you can remember how Cleaver works, Cleaver starts off at a base strength of 3, and you only need to pay 1 credit to break 2 subroutines. So it's more efficient from that perspective. But every time you want to boost the strength of Cleaver, you've got to pay 2 credits, whereas you only have to pay 1 credit to boost the strength of Corroder. So it's more flexible from that perspective, depending if you want to combine it with Leech or with any other effects that might influence the strength of the ice.
You're not overspending. If you've got that Cleaver down, and you spend 1 credit to break 2, and there's only 1, you kind of feel like you're overspending on breaking barriers, despite it not really being that way. You kind of feel like you're wasting your money a bit, like whereas this feels a little bit more. Yeah, it just fits.
For those of you who don't like overspending, yes, Corroder is the barrier breaker for you.
Not really us though, is it?
Giorgio Corroder.
Oh.
I put a click on the 8-track. There we go. Next up.
Right. Now here is a card that thematically or mechanically belongs with Lou. Because Imp says, when you install this program, place 2 virus counters on it. Whilst you are accessing a card, regardless of what type of card it is, regardless of whether it has a trash cost or not, you can spend a virus counter to trash that card. You can trash operations, you can trash ice, you can even trash agendas should you want to. It trashes anything indiscriminately. And then obviously if you tie it into Lou's ability, it would then, you're trading a virus counter for 2 credits in a card draw, or a credit in a card draw.
I mean, I feel like this is a really strong card.
It is a very strong card. It is. It was out of the meta for a while, but I think probably over the last 18 to 24 months, it's been more or less a staple in the top decks because of that ability to trash anything, which has become really important.
Sure.
And at its base level, you've seen La Costa Grid tonight, which costs 3 to trash. Well, you can trash it with an imp, it costs you nothing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, of course.
it gets you value even at just replacing the trash cost for a virus token instead.
Seems pretty strong. Yeah, it was nasty in Brainware Blowout as well for the RPG. Just an imp was just solid damage. Yeah. Cool. Next up, Mimic.
Next, we have Mimic.
Oh.
And this is what we call a fixed strength breaker. Now,
Sure.
in the past, Anarchs were synonymous with fixed strength breakers because what the intention was you installed them, you can never change their strength, and you just use Leech to move the strength up and down.
Gotcha.
Now that you've seen with Cleaver and Buzzsaw, that has softened slightly. It's not impossible to change their strength. It's just expensive to do so.
Yeah.
Except Mimic is old school. Mimic is you cannot change its strength. It's very cheap so long as you're breaking a sentry which has a strength of 3 or less. But if you hit a 4 strength sentry, you're in big trouble.
You're not getting through. Sure.
Yeah.
Unless you have a leech counter.
Yep. I like it.
Or you have the next card in the list.
Oh! Whoa!
Which is Ice Carver.
Wow.
And the Ice Carver is a resource that says, while you're encountering a piece of ice, it automatically gets -1 strength.
Oh.
That doesn't mean it sets its strength to -1, to be clear. It means it reduces its strength by 1.
That would be a poor reading of it to say, yes, and then it has -1 strength, and my cheap 1 strength fixed breaker can smash it like an eggshell. Yeah.
Suddenly it makes Marginal the best card in the game.
Yeah.
But,
God damn, Marshall.
it's not a 1 per, and it's not a 1 out.
Every piece of ice. That is incredible.
It is unique. It is unique, of course.
Okay.
So you can only play one of these at once.
And
And 3 credits is not an insurmountable amount of money, or an insignificant amount of money, I should say. But yes, by and large, if you include one of these in your deck, you will get that value for money for it.
Unless it comes out at the end.
Unless it comes out at the end, of course, yeah.
Well, I guess it's still valuable then.
There are lots of examples in the game where if ice is one strength less, it's a lot cheaper to break.
Gotcha.
And it has been calculated that way to reward you if you are playing Ice Carve or if you are playing Leech, to give you that discount on the break price. But that's what it is. And it doesn't fill up your program slots in the same way that Leech does because it's a resource.
Gotcha. Next up, Liberated Account.
Now,
Liberated Account.
I initially read this as Liberated Accountant, and I was quite interested to see what it was about.
Well, yeah. So first of all, you go in and you liberate the accountant.
Because it's a resource.
And then they tell you where the money is kept, and then you get a liberated account on the back of it.
That's good. I like it.
So, thematically speaking, this is you somehow taking control of a corporation's bank account, secret or otherwise. So, once you've paid the hefty install cost of 6, you load 16 credits onto the resource, and then every time you spend a click, you can take 4 of those credits off it. So in terms of straight up numbers, this is the biggest source of credits in the game. there's nothing else that nets you a gain of 10. Well, apart from some wacky examples of combos.
Yeah.
But so to get 10 credits profit from one card is a lot, but it's click intensive. To get that 10 credits of profit, you've got to install it and then click it 4 times. So 5 clicks for 2 credits doesn't seem so magical. But it depends what you want. A liberated account sees a lot of play, and as Jessica's just mentioned in chat there, if you can career fire out a liberated account, so you've only paid 3 for the install, that makes your return on investment a lot faster as well.
Yep.
And Career Fair is the card where you can install a card from your trash pile.
No, that's the retrieval run. Career Fair is the one where you play it for 0, and you get to install a resource for, is it 3 less or 4 less? 4 less?
3 less.
3 less.
Ah, got
Yeah.
it.
The one we were playing with earlier.
That's right. So you get 3 more out of the back end of it.
Yeah. And then, not quite the last one, the penultimate Anarch card is Scrubber. And Scrubber is another card that potentially combos quite well with Lou. And it says that little symbol there of a credit token with an arrow over the top of it means it is a recurring credit. And the explanation is there in italics. When you install this card, and before each of your turn begins, you refill the 2 credits on this card. That's what you mean. That's what we mean by recurring credits, and then you can spend these credits to pay any trash costs.
Nice.
I assume there's a rules clarification deeper in the whole rules that says that you can spend hosted credits on this card to pay trash costs, and you can't install 6 different hosted effects and then be able to spend all of your hosted on different parts of it, or
all cards are purely self-referential unless stated otherwise.
Gotcha.
So hosted credits in this context means credits hosted on this card.
Excellent.
So the card you're trashing still has to have a trash cost. So it's not like a magic trashing card like Imp is. But if you're going to be doing a lot of trashing because you want to get rid of the Costa Grid and the Ranoetic and the Spin Doctor and the Clearinghouse and the Urtica Cipher, saving 2 credits or 4 credits or 6 credits every time you do it can add up to a significant saving if you can find the Scrubbers and you can get them installed. To be honest, it's not a card that sees a great deal of play, but it's a nice little sort of safety valve if you've got a spare slot left that says, yeah, I can trash that.
Sure. And then finally,
we have Xanadu. Speaking of cards that don't see much play,
the card that would get my auntie singing.
Xanadu is a card that only ever gets played in Reina Roja decks.
Right.
And it says the res cost of each piece of ice is increased by 1.
Nice.
So if you play it in a Reina Roja deck, now the res cost of each piece of ice is increased by 2.
Sure.
But that's basically the only time you'll see it. As a one-off effect in anyone else's deck, it just doesn't happen. Usually. I know, prove me wrong, but that's where we are.
I mean, if this is unique, right?
It is.
So you're almost at a tread lightly with Reina and Xanadu.
Yes.
Nearly. Tread
Strong
lightly.
combo.
Some might say tread shyly.
Xanadu applies to every piece of ice all the way through the game, though. Whereas
Yes.
Reina is only the first piece of ice per turn.
Yep. Gotcha.
Influence 2.
Cool.
I feel like the artwork there could be a bit more exciting compared to some of the other cards.
The artwork investment was tantamount to how many people are going to play it. So they just phoned it in on this one. They weren't that interested.
Sure enough.
That's not true. I'm sure whoever that made that one was put a lot of thought into it. But
Or was given a brief that was wacky as hell. What's the next set that we're onto? Or
we are now going to skip ahead to card number 40 in this list. Which is annoying for page break purposes, but that's the way it is. Because the next group of cards we're going to look at are all the purples from Hasbioroid.
Gotcha.
Yay! Ooh.
So, this is the only Hasbioroid ID you get in System Update. So, for each of in System Update 2021, each runner faction gets 2 identities, but each corp only gets 1 identity.
Cool.
Oh.
Okay. Is that to balance previous releases?
Partly, but also because there are more corps than runner factions, over time you get more variety in corporations just because there's more of them than you do with runners.
Sure. That's cool.
So, this is the first. This is called Hasbioroid Architects of Tomorrow, or AOT in shorthand. And this is the first corp ID you'll have seen, which is a 45 minimum card size rather than a 40. So that means that you've got to have 20 agenda points rather than 18, and your suggested deck size is 49 cards rather than 44.
Okay.
Also, this ID only has 12 influence.
Sure.
So normally we're used to dealing with 15 as a standard influence. This one only has 12, but that's not too big of an issue because most of the cards you want to play in this ID are Hasbioroid cards.
Sure.
So you don't really notice. Anyway,
Yep.
The ability on this card says, the first time each turn the runner passes a rezzed piece of Bioroid ice, you may res another Bioroid card paying 4 less credits.
That seems pretty strong, especially considering the cost of Bioroids generally.
Well, so the Bioroids we've seen thus far are Ansel and Bran.
Are they both
So if you think about both of them being on a server at the moment, yes, both at the moment they would both cost you 6. But now, when someone runs up to that Ansel and you have to pay 6 to res it, the runner clicks through it or pays their money or whatever. As soon as they're past it, if that next piece of ice is a Bioroid, you can res that for 4 less. So now you're resing that Ansel for 2 credits.
It doesn't say the next. You may res the next Bioroid in though, right? It says just a Bioroid.
Any.
So you could res it on another server. Just be like, oh yeah, and also, bam, avoid that one. Cool.
Yep.
Cool.
So what you want to do with this ID basically is you want to have lots of Bioroids in your deck, hence lots of Hasbioroid cards because they're the only people who make Bioroids, and you want to be in a position where every time the runner goes past one, you're in a position to res another one cheaply.
Yeah.
So you keep spamming them onto the board.
Yep.
The runner has to run to stop you from winning, and then you res some more stuff for free.
That seems
and
pretty
it's a
strong.
very good economic ID for resing Bioroids.
Sure. Your only problem is you're limited to doing bioroids in a heavy way, and they have that get around us by paying us clicks kind of function to them, which sounds poo at first, but then when you look at it and say, right, let's say I've got 2 bioroids on a server, it becomes impossible for you to just click your way through everything, so you are paying eventually. Yeah, cool, and this makes it easier for you to put 2 out. Yeah.
So now we're going to click onto the next page.
Here we go.
41 to 60. And first of all, we're going to look at a couple of cards that are not bioroids, but we'll come on to some more bioroids shortly. So firstly, we've got a new agenda, and this is the infamous Project Vitruvius. Infamous in the sense that when you read its ability, you're not going to think it's that exciting, yet it just keeps cropping up in really good decks.
Hey, look, recycling is the business.
So, there is a semi-spoof, semi-serious hashtag that goes round every time this ends up in a good deck of Ban Vitruvius.
Sure. Oh, see, this is brilliant.
Understand with it.
Okay, so let's say you score Project Vitruvius. Okay.
Yeah.
You've got a bunch of other agendas in your hand, and your HQ is pretty wide open. Like, you've only got 1 bioroid there, and the runner's looking shifty as all hell, but you've got the ability to chuck stuff. So what you do is you chuck your I've got problems with my agendas into your archives. You're like, okay, it's gone, see you later. And then as soon as the runner thinks, right, that's it, I'm nicking 3 agendas out of archives, and I'm going to win this turn with 1 run. As soon as that happens, you're like, well, see you later, you're not accessing any of those are back in my HQ again. And you keep swapping them backwards and forwards, and it's not even into R&D as well, it's into HQ. You go hunting for stuff.
The thing I don't understand, and sorry, Dave, for not understanding your explanation, where it says place agenda counter on it for each hosted advancement counter past 3.
Right.
What does that
mean? This starts off as a 3-2 agenda, as we've seen before. And scoring 3-2 agendas is great, because you can do that quite quickly and quite cheaply. But what there is in the game on some agendas is what they call an over-advancement ability. So if you score this agenda as a 3-2, you get 2 points and nothing more. If you score this agenda as a 4-2, as in you've placed 4 advancement counters on it, then it gains 1 hosted agenda counter. If you score it as a 5-2, it gains 2 hosted agenda counters.
I see.
So you just take the agenda counters off, the advancement counters off that you require to score it, right? Is that the same with all of the ones where you have an overcost, where it's just take off the ones that you've used to score it, or are some of them more expensive because their abilities are stronger?
Yeah, so some of them are wonky. Some of them will place a certain number of agenda counters. Sometimes it'll be half the number of over advancements.
Cool.
Things like that. But yeah, so use it as a 3-2, as a blank 3-2, it's a solid card. Fine, no problems. Use it as an over-advanced card, where you're then able to generate agenda counters that allow you to pull cards back from archives to HQ when you want. Very, very strong.
Yep. That's very cool.
Really good.
Especially in combo wombo decks that Dave is looking forward to playing one day. It's not unusual to see this scored with 3 or 4 agenda counters on it, so that then you can pull all your combo pieces back into your hand and do the combo all over again on the next turn.
Too right. Or so Hasbioroid has Hasbioroid has seamless launch in its colour pie.
It does.
So that's not even costing you influence for seamless launch to really send this stratospheric, is it? which is pretty
Nice.
cool. Although there was one in Jinteki's colour that we saw that was the regional upgrade in the last game that we played, and it never came out because we trashed it every time. But it's the one
Costa
that
Grid,
gives
yeah.
What was
the
that?
one that gives +1 advancement every turn just for seating it there.
Yeah, that was Costa Grid.
Yeah.
So if you shipped Costa Grid into your Hasbioroid deck and you installed a Podret Vitruvius on it with no counters on it, at the start of turn, you'd be able to place one with Costa Grid, then you would be able to advance it 3 times as normal, or 4 times if you were using Seamless Launch, and
Or
then
5 times
you,
if you're using 2 seamless launches.
and then you would get 2 agenda counters on it. So then, if you wanted to, you could use those agenda counters to get both of those seamless launches back, ready to start over again.
Bum bum!
And
I
you-
love it
do
already.
do you lose those agenda counters after you've utilised that ability?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes, it's not an
Oh,
infinite ability.
It's the cost.
That would be
Yeah.
completely wacko.
Can you imagine if
Yeah.
every time you wanted to use it, you just used it to a degree where it was the amount of hosted agenda tokens on it? That'd be bonkers. No, the colon means it's a cost, I think. Colon is cost,
Yeah.
so it costs 1 hosted agenda token counter,
colon.
which is bonkers. Yeah, on the card,
Got it.
it's got bold colon effect, so cost and then effect. Yeah, cool.
Okay.
Got it.
Moving on then to Marilyn campaign. Marilyn campaign isn't a isn't a bioroid in itself, so it doesn't apply to the Architects of Tomorrow ability. Marilyn campaign is an advertising campaign for a make of bioroids. In this case, Marilyn bioroids, which are childminders. Hence, and the original art of Marilyn campaign depicted her as a granny, whereas this one shows her as being more youthful. So some
Mark
people refer
II.
to it as granny campaign as well.
Sure.
Use-wise, it is a much more like Nico campaign. We haven't seen for a few weeks, but we did use in some of the earlier games.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, when you res this card, load 8 credits onto it.
Love it.
When it is empty, you have to trash it.
Yep.
When your turn begins, take 2 from this asset. So if you allow it to tick all the way through, like a Nico campaign did, you would gain 6 credits of profit from it. Now, when Nico campaign trashed, it went into your archives and drew you a card. Marilyn campaign does something different, and instead of it going into your archives, if you wish, you may shuffle it straight into your R&D instead.
Solid.
In other words, it'll never go away. It will just keep recycling itself through your deck forever.
Even if, hang on, I'm going to move this on screen. Even if somebody paid the 3 cost for trashing it, it's just trashed to R&D, right?
Yep.
Excellent.
It just keeps coming back. Now, interestingly, if you haven't resed it, so obviously if it's in HQ or R&D, but also if it was face down on the table, wait, no, maybe they've changed that now. There used to be a thing where if its ability is only live when it was resed.
Ah, okay.
So you had to, it didn't shuffle back in unless you had resed it. I think that's how only applies if it's on the table, if it's installed on the table. Someone's going to correct me in chat. But yeah, there are some cases where it doesn't shuffle itself back in. But for the most part, yeah, it just keeps coming back and coming back and coming back.
Cool.
So you've got to decide whether it's worth getting rid of or not.
Yeah. Doesn't shuffle if it's unresed, potentially. So you have to pay 2 to res it, to save it from the trash cost, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Next up we have a new bioroid at last.
Way!
This is Eli 1.0. There was an Eli 2.0, but they've since been rotated out, so we're back to the original one.
Sure.
And this one's very, very simple. It's a barrier bioroid. It's a barrier bioroid, and it has 2 end-of-run subroutines on it. So
grim.
you can spend 2 clicks to get through it, or you can get your fractor up to strength 4 and spend it to break 2 clicks. Earlier in the game, this was considered an incredibly strong piece of ice.
Yeah.
These days, not so much, because as you might have worked out for yourself, a cleaver with 1 leech token breaks this for a single credit.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
But if you compare it to, say, Corroder, that we looked at just a few seconds ago, Corroder would have to pay 2 to boost for strength and 1 for each subroutine, so that would cost it 4 credits to break. So that really shows you the difference between Corroder's flexibility compared to Cleaver's efficiency.
Oh, of course, you pay for
based on how you
flexibility,
get into
don't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
I still think I prefer Giorgio Corroder. For sure.
Interesting.
But, yeah. Yeah. He seems strong. Okay, Magnet.
Magnet is not a bioroid. Okay,
What?
so that's it's
what?
not all of Hasbioroid's ice are bioroids. They do occasionally dabble in normal ice as well.
Oh my god.
And Magnet is one of those pieces.
Sure.
However, when I say normal ice, Magnet also has an entirely unique ability
Magnet is
in
brilliant.
the world of Netrunner. And it says, if Dave can scroll up so I can read it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Like it?
When you res this piece of ice, choose an installed program that is hosted on any piece of ice and move that program onto here. In other words, magnetize it, and that program then loses all its abilities. So that Botulus that you're using to run amok through a piece of ice gets magnetized and blanked. That Tranquilizer that has 1 million virus tokens on it gets magnetized and blanked. And whilst it's doing that, it also ends the run unless you can break code gates as well.
Yeah, it's also not an unstrong code gate, and it's not a bioroid, so you're not clicking through it as well, that's pretty good. It's pretty good.
To be honest, it hasn't seen much play historically, but I think that is maybe not in the top decks at the minute, but in a lot of decks who are sick of being bioroid and tranquilized, it's seeing quite a resurgence.
Yeah, getting Botulus sucks, so yeah, being able to magnet it all onto a server you don't care about seems pretty good.
Well,
yeah.
a server that you care about.
Server that you care about because they can't do anything with it. Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes blank.
Nice.
Just as a rules note, just because a card is blanked does not mean it can't be trashed.
Sure.
So it doesn't stick there forever, being a nuisance. If the runner has a way of, they can trash it when they install a new program, and then if they have a means of bringing it back from archives, something like a retrieval run,
Trash Panda,
they can bring it back. But at least in the short term, it slows them down.
Cool. Then we've got Ravana 1.0.
Next, we have Ravana 1.0, and if this is the first piece of ice you res in a game, it will do nothing. It only works by resolving subroutines on other bioroids.
Oh my god, it's a copycat. That's cool. That is cool.
But as soon as you've got another bioroid resed, For example, if the runner goes past this ice and an Architects of Tomorrow fires and now you can resonate the Bioroid, it can then steal its subroutines from that.
Sure.
So, if it suits you to copy the subroutines off Bran, because you don't want them to get into that server, then fine, you can end the run. But you'll note it has 2 subroutines. So, if you wanted for the first one to copy a subroutine off Ansel and trash one of the runner's cards, and then copy a subroutine off Bran to end the run, you can do that too. Assuming the other 2 cards are rezzed, of course.
Or if there was one particularly overpowered ability on a Bioroid, one that was bonkers that everybody always clicks through or always pays for, this one's got it twice. This is pretty strong.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, it's not impossible to break a 5 strength code gate.
Sure.
But
it's pretty big.
It'll cost you something, and paying 3 credits to res a 5 strength card is a good exchange rate as soon as you've got those other Bioroids rezzed. The trade-off being that if the first 3 dice you draw are all Rivanas, you're in bad times.
For sure.
The last piece of ice we've got in this little set is Roto Turret. And again, an ice that's been in the game for a long period of time. And very unusually, particularly in classical Netrunner, but not so much these days, this is a sentry that ends the run. Usually, as we've seen, sentries normally do damage rather than end the run. Yeah. Although things like Ballista are changing that a little bit. Well, this is the first one that changed that. This will both trash a program and end the run if an unwitting runner slams into it. The trade-off for all that strength is that it is 0 cost. So,
sure,
your Mayfly is strong enough to break it without even being pumped. Your Mimic is strong enough to break it. You've got cards in the future that are not in your card pool yet called Ormakua, which starts off at 0 strength. Well, Roto Turret is 0 strength, so you don't even need to boost it in that sense. So it is weak, but it has a nasty face check if an unsuspecting runner walks into it.
It's cool.
Now we're into the operations. And this couldn't be simpler. Archive Memories says, play this card to add 1 card from Archives to HQ.
Hooray!
This is great. This is swap this card for something in your archives.
It's going to be a money card every time.
Exactly that. Well, it could be a money card, or it could be a seamless launch, or it could be another combo wombo piece that you need to
it could be this
start
one.
off your next combo.
It could be this one. So good.
It could be Biotic Labour.
Yeah, it could. Getting too
Biotic Labour.
Much looking forward to this.
This is going to be banging. Clicks.
Well, there's been some. It's been hyped up in the chat that you'll be excited about Biotic Labour. Biotic Labour is trading credits for clicks.
Yes.
So if you can afford to get a Bioroid to do it for you rather than doing it yourself, it's more efficient.
Fantastic.
So you pay 4 credits and 1 click, and in return you get 2 clicks. So essentially your clicks go up by 1 rather than down by 1.
Yup.
Absolutely fantastic. That is
and
what we want.
So if you think about earlier, where we said that Clot hadn't had much application in the game thus far because there was no way for corps to score an agenda without installing it. Biotic Labour is a way of scoring an agenda without installing it.
Yep.
Because if you've got 4 clicks in a turn, you can install a Project Vitruvius and advance it 3 times. And then it's scored.
Solid.
And
Love
then
it.
you might play your archive memories to get your biotic labour back, or if you're playing Hasbioroid Precision Design, you might use that ability to bring your biotic labour back. Or if you manage to over advance your Project Vitruvius, you might use one of those tokens to bring your biotic labour back. And then you're on the labour train.
Hell yes, absolutely. Because as dirty, evil corporations, we all love a bit of slave labour. Amazing. Look at that. That's gonna be like a cornerstone for all sorts of grimness. Like, I mean, it's not free, and it's not cheap either. But yeah, get a robot to do it. Solid.
Nice.
Whenever people get more clicks than they're supposed to have, the game changes massively.
Well, of course.
And that's kind of intentional. That's part of the design and the beauty of the game. And that's why you have to be very careful with abilities that give clicks, because every time you do it, you're opening it up to a world of nonsense.
Yeah.
When I was chatting to Dave last night, I spoke to him about a deck called Diaper that used to be a runner deck that comboed out a turn with 13 clicks in it. And there is a deck at the moment in standard play which uses a card called Game Changer to create turns with disgusting numbers of clicks. And every time you do that, well, just brace yourself, because the corp's going to sit there very pleased with himself, and the other player is going to sit there miserable for a while, because there's definitely some shenanigans afoot. Biotic labour is your first sort of toe dipped into that water.
I feel like I already know that this card is going to be in Dave's deck.
Yes.
I can sense it.
I will pay for this wherever it is.
Well, just as an extreme example, if the corp has more than 12 credits, then and 3 of these in hand, they could have a 6-click turn. Because there's no limit to how many of these you can play in a turn. So
fast advancing a 5 cost agenda seems pretty good.
Yeah. Well, you could score a send a message from your hand if you wanted to. Or if you'd somehow gotten into yourself into a world of infinite money, why not just over advance that Project Vitruvius twice, so that you can bring 2 of them back to your hand straight away next turn?
Yup. Grim. And
Brilliant.
Also wonderful. Cool.
Absolutely wonderful.
Cool.
And finally, a card that somewhat feels out of place in Hasbioroid compared to what all the other cards are about.
Oh, an X cost.
That's where it lives. And this card is Corporate Troubleshooter. And this is an upgrade that you can install on any server. And it says, pay X and trash it, so it's only a single use. Choose 1 piece of rezzed ice protecting this server, and that ice gets plus SX strength for the remainder of the turn.
You're right, it's strange that it's in Hasbioroid, considering the general strength of them. Unless it was on a roto turret. But otherwise, yeah.
I don't fully understand that last card.
The purpose of it, or how it works?
The point of it. Oh, how it works. So, when would you play it? Can you play? So you play it before on one of your goes. It's an upgrade. Yeah. You'd have to res it
for nothing.
Oh, for nothing. If you think about how a run works, you approach a piece of ice.
Yeah.
And then you say to the corp, do you want to res that ice or not? But once you have posed that question to the corp, you have to encounter it. Now, if this is behind it and you don't know it's behind it, or even if you do, really, if they say, yes, I want to res this piece of ice, they can also res and use corporate troubleshooter at the same time.
Right.
So, were you might have expected to be encountering a piece of ice at strength 0, or strength 2, or strength 4, if they've got a load of money, they can just dump a load of money into it and say, this piece of ice is now strength 12.
The ability has weird timing, right? It doesn't require a click to use.
Nope.
How does responding to people's actions work in this? Because you could wait for them to spank all of their cash on interfacing. They would get halfway through that, let's say, halfway through their money, and you decide, right, I'm gonna corporate troubleshooter now, increase the strength of yours. Then they can continue to attempt to interface with the rest of their cash.
No, so the passage of play works in what we call passing priority to the other person.
Yeah.
So at this stage in the game, or at this stage in the run, whoever's turn it is has first crack to do what they want to do, and then the corp can respond to it, and then the runner can respond to what the corp does, and then the corp can choose to respond to it. And that goes back and forth as many times as it needs to until someone says, I have no response.
Sure.
However, that doesn't progress the game until everyone has finished doing what they want to do. And then we move forward to the next step of the game, and the next step of the game will be limited in what you can do with it. So, going back to the example of making a run on a server, the runner is approaching a piece of ice. The corp has the ability to res that piece of ice, and has the ability to res corporate troubleshooter if they want to, and then they can use it. Once that window has passed, and the runner is now encountering that piece of ice, there is no more window for corporate troubleshooter to be used, because you can't use paid abilities in the middle of an encounter.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So,
right.
Just to reinforce what you've said, the runner approach. Let's assume that this server has got 3 bits of ice and this upgrade, which is unresed. The runner approaches the ice. They ask to encounter the ice. The corp reses that first piece of ice, but they don't want to engage corporate troubleshooter. The runner spends a bunch of cash or clicks getting through that first ice and goes on to ask to encounter the second ice. At that point, then I'll res the second piece of ice. The runner encounters it, gets through it, and now wants to encounter the third piece of ice. And I'm like, oh, they don't have any more clicks. They're really low on credits. They don't have any virus tokens, whatever. Or they do. And so at that point, after the runner says, can I encounter the ice? That's when, if I wanted to use this, I'd res it, pay however many tokens I wanted, and choose that last piece of first I'd res that last piece of ice, then I'd res this, then I'd pay the amount of money I wanted to increase the strength of that just resed piece of ice. And the runner can't stop me, and they still have to engage that ice.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Sorry,
And
just
that's
needed to
where
remind myself.
They can't then deal with it, and whatever is on that piece of ice then hits them like a ton of bricks. So you want to be using in a last gasp situation, you can use corporate troubleshooter to boost the strength of a piece of ice that ends the run and keeps them out of the server. Fine. But more often than not, you are going to boost the strength of a piece of ice that does nasty things.
Yeah.
And when they can't break that, you're going to trash a program, or add a card from archives to your hand, or gain a click, or something much more influential than just ending the run.
And ideally, you'd use this earlier if you had loads of unres dice, because otherwise you'll just use all of your money as well. Your credits as well, and you might not have enough credits to make it an insurmountable ice.
Sure, yeah. It's a card that requires you to be running rich, which is a challenge in itself.
Especially for us.
And then you need to pick the right time to use it.
Yeah.
It won't, you don't just indiscriminately say, I'll fire this now, bung 5-6 credits into it to make sure it lands, and the runner says, yeah, all right.
Yeah,
If that's their reaction, you've done it wrong. They should be quite upset to see this card, should you choose to res it.
Nice, thank you.
But you can't use its ability in response to an interface event happening.
No.
You can't be like, oh, you've decided to interface with it? Well, now it's harder to interface with.
No. So once you get right into the minutiae of the rules, you'll learn about a concept called paidability windows, and
Sure.
it tells you at what time in the run or at what time in a turn you have a window in which you can use a paidability. So anything with a colon next to it, basically.
Gotcha.
And there are no paidability windows in the middle of an encounter. An encounter happens, and after that encounter, there is another paidability window.
There are no paidability windows for the corporation during an encounter. The runner's still paying for their interface and stuff, right?
Alright, you're right. Yes.
Cool. Okay, sure.
And that takes us to the end of the cards that we're going to look at today before I send everyone to sleep with this bombardment of information.
Excellent.
So, to recap what we've done today,
All the cards.
We've relearned how streaming works, which is a key part of making this go through season 2. We looked at 7 new cards in the decks we played earlier, which were Restoring Humanity and Zaya. So those 7 cards now are in the Team Squared card pool, if you want to think of it like that. As are the Anarch cards from System Gateway, from System Update 21, and the Hasbioroid cards from System Update 21. So your homework, should you choose to accept it or not, is that for next week's episode, with all the cards that are now available to you in the Team Squared card pool, you must make some decks. And then we will watch those decks in action. We will discuss your thought process and why you put them together and whether they worked as you hoped to or not. And then we'll look at some new cards for you to put into your decks for the week after. Does that sound...
That sounds
like
fun. Reasonable?
That sounds solid. I'm looking forward to it.
Are you going to send us a full list of the...
You like I'm going to be sending you a full list on multiple occasions? Yes, I will make this as easy as possible.
I was distracted. I was distracted by Biotic Dave Labour.
Correct. Dave Labour.
Are you going to be checking the decks we put together, Mark, to make sure they are legal?
If you send them to me in advance, I will check that they are legal for you. if you leave it until the last minute, which you inevitably will, and then you just have to go live with them, I will only mock you for playing illegal cards. That's the service I'm offering.
If we have illegal cards though, and we're playing with them, then are they actually illegal
Removed
for
from
our
game.
purposes?
Removed from game.
Yeah, the rules are the rules, Sharon, because I'm in charge. I know.
I'm just curious to know how you're going to implement the rules. That's it.
I think it
With
should be.
an iron fist.
I think it should be RFG as opposed to a game loss, but because
No, that's fair.
because I'm super fair.
Dave, you need to make your face slightly bigger.
Well, I think it's perfect.
You look like one of those Goombas from Super Mario Brothers movie. Now
Cool.
you look like one of those like dolls where you squeeze them and their heads get really big.
I'm looking forward to deck building with my giant brain thinking. That's what I'm looking forward to.
We've also got the metagame now,
Yes.
whereas in that you've seen your reactions to each of these cards tonight.
Oh, yeah.
And if you think, for example, one person might be wanting to use biotic labours to score cards from hand, maybe the other person wants to put some clots in to stop that from happening. But
Mark, that feels like a leading statement. I think Mark might not be on my side. I, for one, am shocked at this. Shocked!
I'm
Ridiculous.
only pointing at possibilities.
I think we're both on the same page about which Bioroid cards we want to use, Dave.
Excellent. Okay, good. Well, I'm glad that I know
So I think that
how
might
many
have been a tip
clots
for us both.
to put in. Yeah.
So if you're both thinking that now, that means you're both going to tech against what you expect the other person to play. So now you have to tech against the tech.
Oh, the quadruple bluff is coming. Is there such a thing as a triple bluff, or is it just bluffing again?
Welcome to deck building.
I'm quite looking forward to it.
You-
It's going to be good
Are
fun.
you playing against your opponents or playing against yourself? Only time will tell.
I mean,
Does what we
Does
do
have a
count as
point.
playing? Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Right, with that, we should probably
Okay.
wrap up the stream.
yep.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much to everyone who joined us this evening and put up with our re-teasing problems early on. Next week, I can promise you it'll be 7% smoother.
Exact amount.
The perfect
I love it.
number.
You'll be able to hear at least one of us right from the start. Bye.
See you same time next week. Good night.